I rolled credits on Digimon Story Time Stranger. Don't worry, no spoilers. But as someone who has now completed both Pokemon Legends ZA and Digimon Story Time Stranger, I'm gonna tackle the question that everybody has been saying, Pokemon or Digimon. I'm gonna start by saying that question is absurd. They are two very different franchises and very different games. Digimon Story Time Stranger is a lot more like a traditional RPG. It is more analogous in its gameplay to something like Persona or Shin Megami Tensei in general. Pokemon Legends ZA, on the other hand, feels a lot like, well, Pokemon with a little bit of Xenoblade Chronicles mixed in. Yeah, they both may be JRPGs, but they're two very different styles of JRPG. That being said, I am going to compare them because that's what the internet's been doing, and I think, if I'm going to be honest, I had more fun with Digimon Time Stranger. Both games have their strengths and weaknesses. Digimon reuses a lot of areas and its environments aren't very big, but its story, even though it's still kind of middle of the range when it comes to JRPG stories, is much better than Pokemon's, especially when you get into the back half. The back half is phenomenal, despite it having some Xenogears plot chair nonsense. Pokemon was the more fun game to explore. I did not have fun exploring locales in Digimon. It was a much more linear game. The game opens up at the end, and all of the side quests were great. I basically 100%ed the game, except for scavenger hunts, because it just was not fun to fast travel around and look for shit in Digimon. It was a ton of fun to look for shit in Pokemon. And with the exception of there being platforming segments in a game that was not built for platforming, I really enjoyed wandering around Lumio City and just seeing what I could find. They both have about the same amount of content, but I'll be honest, Pokemon's post-game frustrated me a lot quicker than Digimon's did. I think a lot of that is a lot of Pokemon's post-game is find and raise this one specific Pokemon and battle it for this one specific battle, and then you're just gonna, shunt it into your boxes and never see it again. At least in Digimon, when they say, get this one specific Digimon, you can use a Digimon that you are currently using and, de-digivolve it to get it to that stage, and then re-digivolve it to get it to whatever you were using again. It felt like you could use your active party rather than just throw away mons. They were both $70, and I'm going to be completely honest, that seems like a lot for both of the games. Again, had fun with both of them, but they didn't do anything that really felt next gen, in my opinion. Neither of them did. I will say that Pokemon was better at making your team feel personalized. That Excadrill was my Excadrill. That Feraligatr was my Feraligatr. In Digimon, yeah, my starter did eventually stick with me through the whole game, but I purposely had to try to do that. At the point that it was Alphamon or Yuken, or whatever the fuck I was getting at that point, it didn't matter. Whoever had the stats had the stats. Graphics-wise, I gotta say, Digimon was better. Graphics didn't particularly matter that much to me in either game, but I just liked Digimon's more hard anime style as opposed to the soft anime of Pokemon. Plus, I think the cell shading of Digimon just looks nicer. Music-wise, it's a bit of a toss-up. I actually do think that the music overall in Pokemon was better, though there were standout tracks in Digimon that were real bangers. As I said before, in the end, the two titles really aren't comparable. They are very much two different genres, but gun to my head, it's a joke because your Digivice is a gun. I think I enjoyed Digimon Story Time Stranger more, but I don't really regret my purchase of either.